So you probably found that your dominant assumptions about money, about health, about relationships, you tend to have experiences that reinforce this assumption over and over again. And then when you continue to tell stories like, say, see, there we go again, money is hard to come by, or every time I get close to somebody, they always leave me, or it could even be about generalized situations, like every time I get together with my family, they always end up arguing about politics, and on and on and on. And so when we take that moment and we're telling we find ourselves spinning the story once again and reinforcing the assumption once again, it's almost like it creates a mold around your reality, and it makes it very difficult for you to see anything or experience anything differently. And so a lot of manifestation teachers will say to identify all the limiting beliefs and assumptions and to write new ones. And well, certainly that can be helpful. I personally haven't found it to be very helpful because what tends to happen is then you just find new negative beliefs and assumptions. And so I found what's more effective for me personally is whenever that story comes up in the moment, just to immediately drop it. So imagine it being like this big bag of rocks. And rather than continuing to carry that bag of rocks and allow it to weigh you down, because that's what you're doing whenever you continue to tell that story to yourself and continue to reinforce that story about that assumption. Right, it's like you're continuing to carry that bag of rocks around with you. And so what you're going to do instead is you're just going to set down that bag of rocks. And you're not even going to choose a new belief or assumption or even tell a new story, but rather you're just going to stop telling the one that you feel to be so limiting or so constrictive. And you're simply going to accept the possibility that things could be different, that maybe this is not how things are, and maybe things can unfold, and maybe things can change for the better. And I'm always amazed when I do this about amazed by how quickly things tend to shift for me in a positive direction. And pretty soon, I've completely forgotten about that assumption or that story. And if it ever does come up again, I'm able to drop it much more easily. So try that and let me know how it goes.